to start with tragedy, I'll just quote this his definition of tragedy, which was given by Aristotle, that it is the imitation of an action, serious, complete, and of certain magnitude in a language, beautiful in different parts with different kinds of embellishment, through action and not narration, and through scenes of pity and fear, bringing about the catharsis of these or such like emotions. So this was the definition which was given by Aristotle, and it has wide implication. It falls naturally into two parts. The first part, that is the imitation of action and not the narration. From imitation to not the narration, it includes that it is concerned with the tragedy as one of the imitative arts, and point out its medium, objects, and manner of imitation. That what Priti ma'am has already explained, that regarding the six elements of tragedy. Now the second part, that is concerned with the function of emotion effect. Now the second part, that the scenes of pity and fear, these are concerned with the emotional effect of tragedy. So regarding the function of tragedy, Aristotle points out that it is the scene of fear and pity, and thus it brings about catharsis of these emotions. Now, his analysis of the ideal form of tragic plays became a guideline for later playwrights in Western world. So, Shakespeare tragedies are a good example of it. Most of the Shakespeare tragedies are based on Aristotle's theory of tragedy. Now, as it is concerned, there's no such definition of catharsis, but to sum up the ideas given by Aristotle, catharsis can be defined in drama as the sudden emotional climax that evokes overwhelming feelings of sorrow, pity, laughter, or any other extreme change in emotion, resulting in restoration, renewal, and revitalization in members of the audience. It means to say that catharsis bring about a certain change in feeling of the audience during their observation, and that too undergoing a observation of tragedy. Now we'll discuss about these emotions later on, about the emotions of pity and fear. Now, what is the general meaning of the word catharsis? So in general, the word catharsis means to clean. Like we do the cleaning of our houses, same way there's cleaning of our souls, our minds, our hearts. All ill feelings are thrown out. Next is the to purify. Now, catharsis means to purify. To purify what? To purify our souls from all the ill feelings like greed, jealousy, hatred, and in order to have the esteemed position of our souls, to make it pure. So that help is done by catharsis. And then is the emotional release. It means to have our emotions sprout in order to express ourselves, the same way as a plant sprouts to give flower and fruits. So these emotions will make us better human beings, as we will be able to control and channelize our emotions properly. Now, besides these, the catharsis, it helps us to bring out a better human being from within us by shedding our ill emotions. Now, what are these two birds doing here? Oh, they are talking to each other. Let us hear what they are talking about. What are the other words of catharsis? So they are giving the synonyms of catharsis. So there are very words which are in synonym with the word catharsis. So I think the other bird will reply for it. So the other word for catharsis are purgation, purification, cleansing, release, purging, evacuation, relax. So as you look at these words, all these words mean to clean from within, to throw out the ill from within, to have relaxation after shedding off our ill emotions, to evacuate. For what? To evacuate the ill thoughts from our mind store, the home of our mind, and to make us purify, to make us relax. So they all mean the same in the sense that they are cleansing, they are purifying, and it is the main purpose of tragedy, to make relax and to make renovated. Now, from where does this word originate? So it is a metaphor. It was originally used by Aristotle in his definition, as we have already seen in his definition of tragedy. And this definition occurred in chapter 6 of Poetics, the work done by Aristotle. In that, he is comparing the effect of tragedy on the mind of a spectator to the effect of catharsis on the body. So the effect of mind is directly proportional to the body, that to the effect on body. That means whatever our mind will think, it will have the impact on our body, whether it's in a positive way or in a negative way. In Aristotle Poetics, it meant the emotional release and cleansing that spectators experience during and after watching a tragedy, which has a corrective and healing effect. So, it is not that catharsis can be felt only when we are watching a tragedy. Its impact lasts long, and it can be felt even after we move out. We feel the feeling of pity and fear, and we continuously in our minds are made to think over it again and again and again, and also we are analyzing in our life too. Like if we watch a movie, watch a tragic play, obviously during that time when we are watching, we are fully involved in it and we are having that fear and pity in our mind. But as the play ends and we move out of the this play, we are somewhere reflecting it again and again in our mind, that how come that hero died, how that he faces that tragedy in his life, could it happen to me also? So all these feelings are continuously roaming in our mind. So if something like that could happen to such a person belonging to a noble birth and high esteemed position, what could be the fate of a common man? So this fear is always in our mind, and we are always in a state of catharsis. We are feeling it. So it is not that while we are watching it, it is also when we are away from it. Now let us see what are the Aristotle views regarding catharsis. Aristotle believed that catharsis helped to moderate passions and restore emotions, therefore restoring the balance in one's heart. What does this he mean by that? He means that catharsis helps to purify, to erase all the ill feelings, so that we could have a balance of emotions within us and are able to channelize them properly. So, according to him, he says that it is not the ultimate end of artistic work. So, we can't say that catharsis is the end, because as we see the Aristotle's structure of that Riti ma'am has shown, the where the Aristotle has shown the turning point. So, turning point is the plot. The plot is the turning point where the person who is at the top maybe at maybe in the bottom, and the person who is in the bottom maybe at the top as the plot moves ahead. So this is element is the suffering. The suffering is shown of the either the protagonist or the other characters. Unless and until there is suffering, how can then the emotion of pity and fear arose in the audience or in the reader who are watching this tragedy? So this was the objective which Aristotle identified, and therefore he had given different names like catharsis or purgation and whatnot to this feeling of emotions. And so he says that when he the pity and fear they are evoked, they simply reflect the true artistic work and judge its quality. So Shakespeare tragedies are the best example to go along with Aristotle's tragedy theory. Now, concept of catharsis is both medical and psychological sense. Now, how he has used it in both medical and psychological sense, in cleansing our passions such as pity and fear, this can be very well analyzed when we watch some of the plays by Shakespeare, where they are reflecting our mind, our body, and also our emotions. So they have pity and fear had great influence on our mind and body, and so this concept is very well explained in Shakespeare's tragedies. Now, what is the place of pity and fear? Now, for the past few 2-3 slides, we are continuously talking on the concept of pity and fear, pity and fear. So let us see what is the place of in catharsis or in these two emotions. Why are they considered so important? So catharsis is the purpose of tragedy, and pity and fear will affect the proper purgation or catharsis of these and similar emotions, as we have seen it is expounded by Aristotle in his definition of tragedy. So interpretation of this word is one major debate. He says that the purpose of drama is to arouse catharsis through the effect of the emotions of pity and fear, and that pity and fear is to be brought about through these emotions of tragedy, and what is to be brought about is the catharsis, and that should be awakened in the audience. When both of these emotions have been awakened in the audience, then Aristotle believed that this would lead to catharsis. And so, for that reason, he thinks that pity and fear are more important in tragedy, and it is very well explained in poetics. Now, pity is a emotion, as Aristotle told, that is occasioned by understanding misfortune, and fear by that of like us. So, for example, when we are walking by the street and we see a poor person, a homeless person, we feel pity for him. We are driven by empathy for this. We feel sense of pity for him for some time being. The time when that person is in front of our eyes. The moment we pass them, we enter our home, our workplace, we forget all about it. So it is an emotion which is felt very, very spontaneous. Now we see something for it, we feel for it, and the moment it is out of our mind, it is out of our sight, we forget about it. So it does not stay or grow it in our mind. It is over. So Aristotle says that pity alone cannot lead to tragedy. It is insufficient for emotion. So if there is no fear, then there is no role of pity in tragedy. Now, for example, imagine a scene when we meet someone who is known to us for a very, very long time, and we meet him on the way, and we realize that he or she has lost his job. Now, at that moment, we seize with fear. We feel pity for that he has lost his job, but we at that moment have a fear of losing our own job. That what is going to happen? What will happen to me if this person could lose job? How can I be spared? So this will lead us to fear, which will hold upon our mind, and we will think upon it again and again. So the fear of yourself is that the same thing is witnessed is pitiful. So now you understand that pittiness is something different from fearfulness. Fearfulness is that which will reflect our own self, where we are ourselves involved, and pity is where we will see someone in some deteriorating position, in some pathetic condition. So, but if together they are there, then there is the arousal of catharsis. So it will be like that in the form of vague and anxiety. Fear may also arise our recognition of guilt or outer guilt. So combination of pity and fear is very, very important for tragedy, and no tragedy can have any one of them. So Aristotle said that none alone would lead to a true tragic effect. The true tragic effect comes only and only when both combine together. So it is pity and fear that lead to catharsis. Now this word catharsis is debated and debatable term in Aristotelian criticism. Why? Because literary critics have never agreed whether the catharsis means that members of audience thus learn to avoid the evil and destruction of emotion of a tragic hero, or that their inner conflicts are quietened by an appropriate opportunity to expend pity and fear upon such a protagonist. So they are always in a controversy regarding that. They are not sure how does pity and fear bring about catharsis. How does pity and fear lead to catharsis? How catharsis can happen? What is actually happening in catharsis? That when catharsis is happening, so what is it going on in the mind of this protagonist? So based upon these debatable questions, catharsis has two schools of interpretation. So they are broadly classified into two schools based on their critical interpretation of theory of catharsis. So one school says pity and fear are positive emotions. Means that pity and fear are positive emotions. Means that when we watch a tragedy, then the tragedy will inspire pity and fear in us. And when they enter our mind, our body, they will lead to a purification of the heart by bringing out all the negative emotions within us. So it is also referred to as allopathic treatment or allopathic interpretation of catharsis. Like you know that allopathic treatment believes in the theory like curing unlike. So in allopathy, general treatment is done through the philosophy that like cures unlike. For example, if you are affected by a virus, like now in today's scenario, this is the major concept. And what we are looking for? We are looking for an antivirus, and we have developed the vaccines against it. So isn't it? So like we have found the anti-vaccine or antiviral vaccine against COVID-19 virus. So what we are doing, we are using the theory like cures unlike. Again, if we are having a fungal infection, we are using antifungal medicines. For bacterial, we are using antibacterial medicines, and so on. So this theory implies that like cures unlike, that one thing has an antidote for other, and so allopathic is looking for an antidote. Similarly, in the interpretation of catharsis, pity and fear are assumed to be positive emotions, and we already in our day-to-day life keep on gathering a lot of negative emotions like meanness, jealousy, hatred, greed. So these emotions are obvious in everybody, in every person. These emotions are also vested upon. So and they affect our day-to-day life. But when we watch a good tragedy, the tragedy will inspire these two positive emotions, the emotions of pity and emotion of fear. So accordingly, the effect that tragedy should give about, a good tragedy should lead to catharsis. And as we have read earlier, that catharsis is also purgation, that is to purge, which means to clean. So it should lead to purification and cleansing of our mind, our hearts, our thoughts. We become better persons psychologically, emotionally, and medically. And like we have read earlier in Aristotle views, that he has treated catharsis as in medicinal and psychological ways. So this is where his view stands just, that catharsis make us become a better person psychologically, emotionally, and medically. And also to according to this Aristotle view, that when we undergo catharsis by watching beautiful programs, so this makes us a better human beings. The perfect tragedies makes bring out a perfect human from within us. Like when we cry while watching pathetic movies, the pathetic movies have lot to say. They grasp our souls and lead to shed negative emotions. So sometimes we do not know exactly, it is not known to us in fact, but we emerge as better human beings, at least for a temporary period, not forever, but there is some change in ourselves and we become some better persons. We for a moment see a thing, we draw towards it, but after few days when we see something better than it, we are attracted towards it, a better piece of art or a better piece of this you can say a book or a movie or a performance. Like if today we are watching Singham part 1, we are very much attached to the when the new second version came, we are fascinated by it. And similarly, if some sport event is there, if today that player is on the top and he has won so many medals, we are attracted towards him and we are shedding our emotions towards him. And in the next event somebody other highlights it. So same way to the world, the art in the world is making us realize that nothing lasts forever, and temporarily it can lead to healing, cleansing, or purification of mind, heart, and obviously our soul, so that we emerge morally better people for the time being. Now the other school opines that pity and fear are negative emotions. Now the first school was in favor of positive emotions, the second school is that they are negative emotions. How? Now, this school of interpretation believes that pity and fear are negative emotions because, as such, negative emotions fill our heart when they when they drive out all other negative emotions. So, in positive emotions, the pity and fear they enter our heart, and all the ill emotions were removed out. But here they consider pity and fear to be negative emotions, and when they enter our heart, they drive out the other negative emotions, and the other negative emotions like greed, meanness, ungratitude behavior. So all these there. So this can also be compared to homeopathic treatment of medicine, or it can be the homeopathic school of treatment, which lays the emphasis that like cures like. So in positive emotions it was like cures unlike, but here this school believes that like cures like. If we are bitten by a snake, so the same snake poison is given to us to get a cure from it. So when we are ill and our fever is there, so what happens, the homeopathic doctor will treat us on the same grounds to cure that illness. So we can say that these two schools, though they differ, that but they have the same basics, that the emotions are released. And what are those emotions? Those emotions are the emotions of pity and fear, which make us realize the true within us to become the true human beings. And catharsis is the key to decide which is good or bad tragedy. So the whether the two schools differ, they agree that catharsis leads to purification and cleansing. So now, what are the functions of catharsis? Catharsis is the impact that not every but good tragedy is capable of bringing about in the audience. So that means that catharsis, the feeling of relief, being cleaned, they are brought about only by a good tragedy, and this is the key to decide which is the good tragedy. So there are spelling mistakes, sorry. The purpose of catharsis is to bring about some form of positive change. As I already said, that we evolved as a good human being by this function of catharsis. And while watching, after watching a tragedy, we are so filled with bad and good thoughts that the bad things in us will start coming out, and that is the purpose of a good tragedy. So it is the purpose to make better human beings. And how we become, we have good emotions in us. So the emotional purification from is there in the catharsis. So it is like a therapy that I've discussed, that it is like allopathic and homeopathic treatment, which one says like cures unlike and the other says like cures like, but both lead to the purification, the purgation of the human being. Now this was the tragic plot structure that is there. So here we can say that it is the incident is the where play commences, and as the plot progresses there are series of events unfolding which makes the character grow. At the peak, this is the plot reversal, where I said that there's a reversal of fortune, there's a change of fortune. So the one who is at the highest position may come to the lowest because of his own fault, and the other which is at the lower position may rise to the others. So that there comes a stage of error where the whole structure is reversed. And this here the audience are coming in contact, they are getting themselves submerged, and so the feeling of pity and fear is there. Now as the plot progresses, so there's a denouncement, that is the protagonist due to his error is going to the downfall, and then there is the pity and fear arising. Why? Because they have seen the protagonist on a very high position from a very noble birth, and so they can't think of his downfall. They have a fear, they are feeling pity towards him, but they have a fear that how could such a person from a renowned position can meet such an end. And finally the tragic end of the hero is met. So there are some examples of catharsis from literature. Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, we are very familiar with that, is a great example of tragedy, and it can be explained like in Act 5, Scene 3 of Romeo and Juliet. On seeing Juliet's sleeping body in Capulet tomb, Romeo mistook it and poisoned himself out of sorrow. So watching Romeo encounter his true love when he believes to be dead makes the audience think that could similar experience for loss could happen to an audience. So we categorize ourselves in that position and think of the circumstances or the effect that has caused. In Othello's anagrossis in the play is also a moment of catharsis. Like in Act 5, Scene 2, he was provoked by his malicious soldier Lago, and out of jealousy, he kills his wife. But when wisdom dawned upon him, he commits suicide, and his suicide is a cathartic point for the audience. Though they feel pity for him, but at the same time they have a fear after seeing his death. Now, Mr. Ramsay's experience, he experiences catharsis in Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse while reading Sir Walter Scott's The Antiquary. And in Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart, Achebe employed the form of a classical Greek tragedy to tell the story of Okanvo's fall. So, not only the this our English writers or the British writers has applied the theory of Aristotle, but our this Chinua Achebe has also applied this theory in his play The Things Fall Apart. Now, if we consider the catharsis from day-to-day life, we have seen this, we have felt catharsis many a times, and a very good example is our farewell from our school, our college, when we can't control our emotions because we are going to be separated from those with whom we have spent a very lovable time, very good time in fact, and we can't help to stop express our emotions, and there we have catharsis. Now you will say how pity and fear is there. Now pity in the sense that we are pitying on ourselves, that what a loss to ourselves, that we have to leave such good friends, we have to leave such a good institution and move out. And fear is the coming future, which is not known, which is the open world, because the institution where we were, it was a closed well where we felt security, we felt secure among our peers, but now we have to move out of the well, and there are unknown paths, unknown people whom we are going to meet. So that is the fear. So this is the catharsis that is there. Now the other one is that when a family member dies, so there's a mindset that his ashes should be submerged in the river Ganga for the renewal of spirit. And what is catharsis here? That we are parting with those our dear one. We are parting with a dear one, and we are submerging his ashes in the Ganga. And the fear that one day we will also have the same fate, we will also have the same end, and so catharsis is also shown there. So this we can say that the catharsis, though an artist, this Aristotle's concept is very much prevalent in our day-to-day life also. We can't say it is only a part of literature, it is only a part of Shakespeare's tragedy, or it was only Aristotle's concept. Every day if we analyze, we are undergoing catharsis, and we are renewing ourselves, we are making ourselves a better human beings day by day. And this is the concept that was given by Aristotle thousands of years ago, but it is still prevalent till today. And now I can just quote an example that for the past 2 years we are in what we are experiencing catharsis, because we are in a fear, we are in state of pityness when we see our neighbor or some nearby suffering from coronavirus. We feel pity for that person, for that family, but at the same time we have a fear in ourselves that could it happen to us. So for that we need to meditate peacefully and get rid of all our emotional tensions. And I think many of us have started doing meditation, because in this context we feel ourselves released, we feel ourselves relaxed after that we are in a fear of pity and in a state of pity and fear, and we want to release our emotions. So to conclude, we can say that catharsis can be condition of man's mind, or it could be release of emotions, or it can be an effect of madness, it can be cleansing of emotions, or purgation. So all these concepts have led to one and only one concept, that is the release of emotions because of pity and fear. So these are the two questions that I came across. So it's on purgation and catharsis, and I think both means the same. So this was all I have to say. Thank you.